Now, this was supposed to just be a broken sword run, but upon starting it, I realized that since items you get from the shrines in the hub are account bound, we start off with those armor sets. Perfect. A useless weapon with a useless armor set, even more pain guaranteed. Thus it turned into the Skelly Boy run, and I don't know about you, but those are the legs of a runway model if ever I've seen one. But this also gave me an idea for an upgrade path for our armor later on in the run, which will fit perfectly. So our journey begins, making our way downtown, running fast. Skelly is Skyrest bound, but first we must get our weapon of choice, the broken sword, and luckily for us it's right in the beginning of the game, in the abandoned red cops. With our first objective completed, our next main objective is of course our first challenge in the run, Hermione Granger. It's Pietà, not Pietà.
I'm Pietà.
And well, Skelly here may have useless damage, useless armor, but damn it, he's got spirit, and in accordance with the teachings of Judge Rogue, with the right combination of imagination and violent intention, anything can become a weapon. Even if your weapon has a problem in physically reaching that booty, but eventually the clay animation falls and we are past our first challenge. Feeling good, feeling safe in the hub. Will this feeling soon fade? Most definitely, but we have faith because if this dude can make his way around the whole kingdom with a stick, we can do it with a pointy bit of metal. We won't mention the fact that his stick literally has more damage and his robes literally have better physical protection, but I digress. On to our next challenge we go. To a boss that also likes to show a bit of skin, the good old Scourge sister, and maybe it's just Skelly, but he kinda digs those screams. But the sister posed no issues for Skelly. Moving on from the good sister, we make our way through Pilgrim's Perch, knowing our next challenge is going to be with the Kennel Club. But more importantly, we have a smith to free so that our pointy bit of metal can be a little bit more pointy, because it's not like our bones are going to be getting stronger. But after freeing the blacksmith and upgrading our weapon, we eventually made our way to the Kennel Club, and thus a workout session began for Skelly. You can start to see why his legs are in such a state, but running in circles, keeping the dogs entertained, and then the occasional quick stabs worked a treat, and the G-Sister is no more. But we are not done because our next big challenge is literally right down the ladder, and of course it is the heap of flesh. The biggest advantage this boss has against us is the camera, not so much the poison, even though taking any kind of hit kinda turns this run into a no-hit challenge run. An armor set of bones isn't exactly recommended. But with the tenacity and spirit that Skelly has exhibited so far, we deal with a heap of flesh pretty easily. A bit of patience and well-placed stabs go a long way, and thus the fen is open for Skelly to frolic in. The main goal here was grabbing ourselves that armor upgrade that I spoke about earlier, the Angel of the Void set. It's still Skelly themed and a worthy upgrade for us later on when we need it, both in terms of some protection, but also Skelly has to look the part as he ascends to greatness, but for now he prefers the wind in his bones. Having had our fair share of the lovely swamp, because who doesn't love the swamp areas in games, especially here. They have great manners, clearly their parents instilled in them that pushing is a nice thing to do. We make our way to our first beacon challenge, the Saint of No Speak. Working those legs as always, we had a trick up our sleeves here. Well, get what I mean, but yeah, Saint doesn't like fire, so we will definitely use that to our advantage for our well-placed stabs. Saint is not to be underestimated though, a lot of his attacks will just absolutely demolish our health bar in a single hit, so Skelly needed to be extremely agile. But we managed to defeat the silent Gyobu Masataka Oniwa and strolled up to the beacon all badass and allowed the moths to do their thing, cause moths like light, I guess. On to the next area, the Gorge of Fitzroy. Must be nice having a gorge named after yourself, and it is here that we pick up a very useful umbral eye, the Eye of Hooded Antley, giving us that immunity upon entering the umbral realm, so a very nice gift of survivability. Overall, the gorge is not too bad for Skelly, just a few bosses that are really only mini-bosses, since they become regular enemies afterwards, but a few fire wards and both the Ruiner and the Infernal Enchantress are no match for us. Now they are chilling in the Rogar realm, wondering where it all went wrong for them as they got beaten by a broken sword, but we shall leave them to their ponderings and make our way through a lovely warm city, Kelrath. And say what you will about Kelrath, but I must give credit to some of the architects here, because certain parts of the city clearly got a premium wood upgrade, because no matter how long it burns, certain parts will not fall and succumb to the flames. ever. But what will succumb to our pointy bit of metal is the dude playing dolls, the spurned progeny. Fighting the progeny here wasn't too much of a hassle. Skelly just needed to be extremely careful with certain attacks, as it is one-hit territory now, but avoiding those and the progeny was easily dealt with. And with that, we have purged another heretical enemy from this lovely world, because that just ain't needed around here. Got enough issues to deal with. Onto the depths of this world we go next, and I think it might actually be time to upgrade our fashion a little. Skelly now looks the part and feels a little bit better than before. Not much, but it is better. And if you've enjoyed Skelly's journey so far, show him some support and hit that subscribe button. Now the main goal here is of course opening up the paths to Upper Calrath and the Revelation Depths, but we also made sure to pick up much needed upgrade materials along the way. The Revelation Depths may not hold a beacon, but it does hold many upgrade materials and some saintly quintessence, which Skelly would highly appreciate as well, so we would be stopping there before heading to Upper Calrath, but that means we must deal with the boss in this section, the Skin Stealer. Now if this boss ever gives you trouble, literally just dodge to the left constantly and you'll avoid pretty much all of their attacks. Your Skelly tip of the day: having gotten our key from the Skin Lover, we can head to the depths to begin our looting experience. Now, as I said, there isn't a beacon down here in the Revelation Depths, and no bosses here that is required for the ending that Skelly is going for, so this is purely a resource run down here, so not much to say really, but it was very beneficial, so Skelly left it a decent review on Yelp. With the depths being sufficiently looted, we achieved our goal, so now we can move back up to the surface to deal with the pesky beacon in Upper Calrath, because the moths are getting a bit antsy and we can't have that. No bosses stand in our way here, so our moths once again do their thing and yet another beacon is cleansed. Having had enough of the heat of Calrath, it's time to cool off, so that means the fife. Making our way back to the abandoned red cops, we find the bell door, which we promptly open thanks to the gracious gift from Ebdu. Now, the objective is to not lose our sanity, or what little is left of it, but I'll get into that in a moment. Standing in our way here is the Kin Ranger Folard. Well, actually, it's more so the dog standing in our way, because Folard himself is no problem for Skelly, so dealing with the parasite and then the dogs as quickly as possible was the key to this battle. Once they were taken care of, then it was just a lot of sidestepping until Folard fell over, and thus the fight is open to us. Now, the one thing that Skelly has not enjoyed in this run are the doggos, whether it's the regular ones, the armored ones, the freezy ones, the flame ones, it doesn't matter. With a useless piece of metal and a useless armor set, they're annoying, so working those legs, we get through this area as quickly as possible to get to the worst boss in this run, the bird that sits there. Possibly the worst, no, actually the worst boss in the game, especially when you have a useless weapon, a bunch of ads everywhere. The biggest issue here is trying to lock onto the floaty bitch to soul flare her, then get in enough attacks before she buggers off again. Not a pleasant fight, but it's over. Moving on. Sanity mostly intact. Enough of the cold. The moths aren't happy either. We cleanse the beacon and leave this frosty hellhole. Making our way back to the starting area, Skelly really does admire the level design of this world. We must climb high now, and that means getting rid of the bellboy who stands in our way. No issues here, Skelly is a badass at this point, so they may whack their heads all they want, but Skelly is getting through. Not too much is happening in the bro capital, just a part of our journey that needs to be done, which must be traversed to get into the two locations that we actually do need. So the first location we are going to be stopping at is the Tower of Fred's People. Who is Fred, you ask? I'll introduce you soon, don't worry. Before we access the tower, we need to deal with a half-dead dude just chilling on the ground, who upon waking up, starts spewing gas everywhere. It's easy to understand why they locked him outside the front door, but no problems here for Skelly. He has long since lost his nose, so this boss's one tactic is absolutely useless. Now the front door may be locked, but the back door they clearly forgot about. We take the elevator up and make our way all the way down through the tower to the bottom, where the wannabe Professor Quirrell, aka the Master of Insults, Tancred, awaits us. He has kept himself busy with some arts and crafts, which he doesn't like afterwards, but we have places to be, things to do, so it's time someone deals with him. This is a two-phase fight, so Skelly does have to be economical here, and Tancred himself really isn't an issue. His brother poses more of a random threat to us, but we manage to deal with the beast, grab his key, and make our way all the way back up to the top of the tower, because you guessed it, the moths have a job to do. Another beacon down, we are looking good, and the future of this kingdom is looking good. Actually, who are we kidding? It's screwed anyway. But back down we go, and time to go to the Abbey. And to gain entry here, we must deal with Ursula, and I don't know what she has in her chalice, but clearly it's the reason they've gone mad. Someone organized these women an AA meeting. But once she stopped beaming and teleporting around the place, a few well-placed stabs, and Skelly is on his way. Now remember earlier when I mentioned Fred? Yep, well, this is Fred the Flagellator. He's dealing with some issues. He'll be okay, I think. But we'll just leave him be and make our way through the Abbey, because who wants to spend any more time here than necessary? We make a quick stop to deal with an optional boss, the Huntress, who is not pleased that we touched the rune, but our good friend the Wayfarer shows up as well, because, well, he wants the rune back for himself, and we don't really put up that much of an argument, because it's not like we really want it either. But if anyone in this kingdom could handle the responsibility, of course it would be Skelly. Leaving the rest of the sisters to their chalice business, we make our way into the heart of the Empyrean, where the good Judge Cleric resides, ready to tell her how much of a useless job she's done with protecting the kingdom. Dropping down, the cleric is looking pretty good, seems completely untouched by the corruption that has destroyed the kingdom. So either she just doesn't get out much, which I can't fault her for, neither do I, or she brokered a really good deal for herself, or there's more than meets the eye here, and Skelly's skeleton sense is tingling, and yup, hello corrupt witch queen. So much for being a radiant sentinel of the faith. Spent a bit too much time playing with the rune, I think. But enjoying the absolutely banging music here, we put her in her place and calmly stroll past to cleanse that final beacon. Interesting fact, she's one of the 3 bosses who don't actually die after you fight them. DLC perhaps? But what's that? Another appears. Upon our route back to the final beacon's location, we are attacked once again by the Light Reaper, who, give credit where credit is due, they're persistent, but their persistence ends here because we've had enough of them and their Nazgul wanting our moth lamp. It's time to go nap. So dealing with them, we move on to Brammer's Castle, where we are attacked by our buddy, the Iron Wayfarer, who has clearly fallen under the influence of the rune. Unfortunate, but we deal with them in a tiny arena that barely fits us both, and thus we can finally get rid of the roots blocking the castle's entrance. Making our way through the castle, we are attacked next by Damarose, because at this point, clearly everyone doesn't like us, so why not? We'll definitely give her points for Pyro style, but she's not much of a threat at all. Brammer's Castle has seen better days, and Skelly is not welcome wherever he goes, but our journey nears its end as we climb the steps up to the final boss. Well, kind of final. The Sundered Monarch, and what better way to start off a fight than by stabbing him right in the dick. Clearly not happy with such a decision, he breaks his wife's statue, because that makes sense, and proceeds to try and make us one with the dirt. But Skelly is quick. Skelly jumps over boss's pointy sticks, and with that same tenacity and spirit that he has exhibited throughout his journey, we avoid the Monarch's attempts at killing us. I mean, he was just chilling there, not actually attacking us, so we ask ourselves, are we the baddies? But too late for that. We vanquish the Monarch and put him out of his misery, now to deal with the one behind all this madness. Up the stairs, past the thrones, we find a lovely sight, and a deer speaks to us, trying to fill our head with his ideas. Too bad for him, ain't nothing left in Skelly's head, so we just head on inside, because who can stop us? And our moth lamp. Clearly not a deer, who isn't even bothered to fight us himself. No, he just sends his followers to deal with us, and well, a short time later, we have dealt with them and perform the biggest moth suck on anything so far. Much to the moth's satisfaction, they get to say they've eaten a god. Too bad in our success, we burn up to nothing but dust. Guess we should have gone with the better fire resistance armor after all.